winner of the New Jersey Press Association's Most Innovative Award.
Welcome back to Greater Media Broadcast News. I'm Susie Shea, bringing you the top headlines in Central New Jersey. Here's what's going on in your neighborhood. New Cancer Center, Barbecue Showdown, People's Climate March, Death of Rutgers Student, and a Kitchen for Souls. The largest dedicated cancer hospital in the world is setting up shop in Monmouth County. The Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center broke ground last week on an outpatient facility that will be known as MSK in Monmouth. It will include clinical space for consultations and minor operations, as well as a 50,000 square foot data center for research and health records. The center will be located on the former Lucent Technology site in Middletown, and completion is expected in late 2016. For more on the new facility, see your Greater Media newspaper. And here's Mark Rosman with more headlines.
Tuesday, September 30th will be a day of decision in the Freehold Boro K-8 school district. That is the day the Board of Education will seek voter approval for a $33 million referendum that will provide facilities to help the school district accommodate an increasing enrollment. The election polls will be open from 2 to 9 p.m. on September 30th. The school district has 3 schools, and upgrades and renovations would be made at each building if the referendum is approved. State aid would pay a portion of the referendum costs. Property owners in Freehold Borough would fund the remainder of the construction costs over the next several decades. District officials said the proposed improvements will increase the combined capacity of the 3 schools from about 1,150 students to about 1,600 students. If the referendum is approved, the new facilities would expect to be ready for the start of the 2017-18 school year. More information about the referendum in Freehold Borough can be found in this week's news transcript.
Climate change has been a topic of debate for years, but this weekend it all came to a head. Hundreds of thousands of them, in fact. Adam Ujako shares his experience at the People's Climate March in New York.
The People's Climate March, held prior to a United Nations Summit on Climate Change, attracted 400,000 supporters in New York City on Sunday, September 21st. The attendance, which was calculated using a crowd density analysis formula developed at Carnegie Mellon University, makes the Climate March the largest social demonstration in the U.S. in the past decade. Marchers gathered along Central Park West from 60th Street to 93rd Street, and though the march began at 11:30 a.m., those at the back of the procession did not move until 1:45 in the afternoon. Demonstrators halted at 42nd Street for a moment of silence, which was followed by an uproar as the march continued for another 10 blocks. The People's Climate March was one of 2,646 events held across 156 countries on Sunday. In addition, more than 2 million people globally have signed a petition urging world leaders to take action at the UN Climate Change Summit this week. For more, see my column in your local Greater Media newspaper.
And here's a roundup of headlines from this week's papers. A township engineer in Monroe is going to prison. Ernie Feist will serve a 5-year sentence for causing a drunken driving accident that injured 2 other drivers last year. His blood alcohol level at the time of the accident was reportedly 3 times the legal limit. A man from Edison was killed by a black bear this weekend when he was hiking with friends in West Milford. Josh Patel was in the Apshawa Preserve when he encountered the animal. Local authorities located his body and euthanized a bear that was nearby. Authorities are investigating whether the death of a Rutgers University sophomore was caused by alcohol consumption. 19-year-old Caitlin Kovacs was pronounced dead on Sunday after friends took her to Robert Wood Johnson University Hospital in New Brunswick. Where there once was smoked salmon, there will now be smoked brisket. This Sunday, South Amboy will hold the first ever barbecue showdown held at Raritan Bay Waterfront Park, where the former Seafood Festival was held. For more on these stories, see your Greater Media newspaper today. And here's Mike Pavlishko of Greater Media's WCTC with an update on Rutgers football. After that, we have Tim Morris with more on local sports.
Well, the Rutgers football team won one and lost one this weekend. I'll explain. First, how they won. They beat Navy, a good all-around team effort down in Annapolis. And yes, the game came down to the final play, but I look at it this way. 3 things out of the game. Number 1, anytime anybody beats Navy, it's a good win. Number 2, anytime anyone wins on the road anywhere, it's a good win. Number 3, yes, the game came down to a final defensive stop, but I look at it this way. Out of the Scarlet Knights' 4 games, you throw out Howard, 3 games came down to Rutgers having to make big defensive stops at the end of the game. They didn't do it against Penn State, but they did it against Washington State. And by the way, Washington State almost took number 2 Oregon this past weekend, and the Scarlet Knights did it against Navy. So good job by the Scarlet Knight D. That's the win, but now the loss. Rutgers junior running back Paul James, he's done for the rest of the season. An ACL tear in his right knee, and he was the 5th leading rusher in the Big Ten coming into this past weekend's game. So what's going to happen? The depth that Kyle Flood talks about all the time, the Rutgers head coach says, is going to come into play here. Running back, one of the deepest positions on the team. We will see that in action Saturday when the Scarlet Knights are back in action against Tulane. Desmond Peoples and Justin Goodwin, who filled in quite admirably, helped Rutgers get the win at Navy the rest of that second quarter, and in the second half, they're going to get the bulk of the carries from this point forward. I'm Mike Pavlichko on 1450 WCTC and WCTCAM.com.
This week we take a look at one sport that doesn't have to be concerned about the fall weather, volleyball. It doesn't matter what the temperature or the conditions, rain or even an early snow, the game gets played because it's indoors. 2 of the best girls teams in the short conference reside in the Freehold Regional District, Marlboro and Colts Neck. Last week, the teams collided for the first time this season in an A North Division clash in Colts Neck. As you would expect, when 2 good teams face each other, there were long rallies featuring some sharp passing, some great saves and digs that kept the point going. Numerous times it looked like the point was over, but the players kept it going. There were some great saves along the way. Before Marlboro's Grace Kenningham, number 13, finished it with this spike. Not all the rallies were long, as Colts Neck picked up a quick one here. Kenningham was the dominant force in this match, won by Marlboro in straight sets. Tim Morris, Greater Media Newspapers.
And here's Taylor Lear with an update on a couple that was married at first sight.
Howell native Doug Henner has found what he has been looking for all along, love and a happy marriage. Henner participated in FYI Network's new reality series, Married at First Sight. The series documented 3 couples who went through marriage and met for the first time minutes before exchanging their wedding vows. Henner got paired with Jamie Otis, a 27-year-old labor and delivery nurse working in New York. At the end of the experiment, the couple had to decide whether or not to stay married or get a divorce. Fortunately, Henner and Otis decided on staying married, and in this week's Tri-Town News, their interview shows their experience through this very public experiment. For more about Henner and Otis's journey, read this week's edition of Tri-Town News.
3 years after its inception, a local community kitchen is still feeding mouths and souls. Here's Jeremy Grossman with more on the Bon Jovi Soul Kitchen.
This October, the John Bon Jovi Soul Kitchen in Red Bank celebrates its 3rd anniversary of playing a central role in the community. Among the events they have planned include a chili cook-off on October 11th, which will lead into a week of festivities. According to Lou Morial, the restaurant's general manager, the restaurant is doing better than ever, serving about 1,000 customers a month and hosting over 400 volunteers. Last year, 28 people found jobs elsewhere based on their work at the Soul Kitchen. Morial said that the Soul Kitchen aims to give their volunteers dignity, to empower them, and to give them the help to move on. To learn more about the John Bon Jovi Soul Kitchen and what it has planned for its 3-year anniversary, visit gmnews.com.
For more in-depth coverage and additional stories, see your Greater Media newspaper today. Keep up with the latest headlines by liking us at facebook.com/Greater Media Broadcast News. I'm Susie Shea. See you next time.